Hello, San Francisco, and welcome once again to the Angelic Troublemakers. I'm your host, Alan Jones, and on today's program, Invisible Dome of SF City Hall revealed. We got a new mayor, and a lot of people, I'm sure, are thinking, oh, how exciting. Black woman, native San Franciscan, uh, everything you can think of. Very inspiring story on how she got to her position. However, we must not uh, get too excited. It is my personal belief that we are fooling ourselves if we think that this mayor, London Breed, or Mayor elect London Breed, will have a successful time in office if we just think that everything's hunky dory and we got who we wanted and all of this stuff without pointing out the fact that San Francisco has an invisible dome over City Hall. I have said City Hall has been racist for quite some time, and we're going to discuss it. Why? Because I believe that the success of this mayor is based on us exposing and then disposing of that dome. I know I'm going to get in a little bit of trouble by the fact that what are you doing putting a hood uh, over San Francisco City Hall? Well, I like to call it as I see it. And for me to place this hood over City Hall, don't get me wrong. There are some issues that uh, I believe people will quite agree with, but it's hard to say. You got a black mayor, and yet you're claiming City Hall is racist? That don't make any sense, Alan. Well, why would I do this without providing proof? The proof is in the pudding, as they say. And I intend to prove that San Francisco has a racist element about it that needs to be exposed if London Breed is going to have real success in getting things accomplished as our new mayor. And if I could tell a long story, it begins with the fact that Mark Farrell became mayor of San Francisco in a rather strange way. A couple of years ago, Mark Farrell was fined $25,000 by the San Francisco Ethics Commission for accepting illegal campaign funds. Well, for years, he had denied what actually happened. He blamed it on his campaign manager. And this was when he was first elected almost 8 years ago. So they went round and around and around, and the issue was $190,000 of illegal campaign funds. Well, he whined, cried, and sued, and I mean, he was the subject of a suit, and the ethics commission decided to settle for 25,000. That means that Mark Farrell pocketed, netted $165,000 in illegal campaign funds. The San Francisco Ethics Commission then said of Mark Farrell, he lacks integrity. That's a quote. And for him to lack integrity and then 2 years later be selected by the majority of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors as president to oust London Breed temporarily is outrageous. How can people conspire against a black woman in City Hall claiming for fairness in an upcoming race for mayor that was brought on due to the death of the late Mayor Ed Lee? Then there was this person, Supervisor Jeff Sheehy, who lost badly in his bid to become elected supervisor of District 8. What I find so reprehensible about Jeff Sheehy is he was the swing vote, if you will, in voting against London Breed, even though ideology, my goodness, he sides with her line of thinking. How does that happen? Then there's Hillary Ronen. Now, I have a personal story that I won't tell that involves where Hillary Ronen helped me get a resolution passed as an aid to somebody who will later come up in my photo thing. But her rant at the January board meeting where London Breed was ousted as mayor was the most ridiculous display or speech, 10-minute speech, that I've heard in recent memory. People praised her for her dogged style or whatever she was, no nonsense. We're going to get rid of all of the corruption of City Hall and the influence of billionaires like Ron Conway, who they claim bought Ed Lee and bought London Breed. And so her rant went on and on and on, but after it, she voted for a man who received more money than London Breed from Ron Conway. And so that didn't make any sense. But these are the conspirators who are still in public office. Jane Kim. Well, of course, she was third place finisher in this race, and she wanted to be mayor. Well, I don't know whether you know this or not, but as District 6 supervisor, when the votes were tallied, one strange thing happened. Jane Kim lost badly in her own district. But my point of Jane Kim was the most senior member on the current, or is the most senior member on the current Board of Supervisors. And during this time, while the board elected London Breed as board president twice, unanimously. Jane Kim was there. So if Jane Kim could not get the support of her 10 colleagues to even run the Board of Supervisors as president, board president, how then is she able to think that she's the best person qualified to run a city of 870 some odd thousand people? It didn't make sense. But the fact of the matter is the board member Jane Kim, I don't know. She was out after her own ambitions, and they did not work. She teamed up with a former supervisor, Senator Mark Leno, and you could say their scam didn't work. But here's another one. Now, for people who know Aaron Peskin, he used to be he served 8 years as a member of the board. Then he was out for 8 or whatever years, I don't know how many, and then he came back. Well, he too was one of the co-conspirators to get London Breed out of office in a claim that they wanted fairness in the upcoming election. Well, this group are all still in power in San Francisco. So, if these people who conspired against London Breed are still in power, and I do understand that Mark Farrell, the mayor, current mayor, is on his way out, and who knows whether he will emerge again. But for these people to be still around, I say, San Francisco, if you're not going to clean up the dirty politics, as I've said with my ballot measure, if you're not going to clean up the dirty politics, you're not going to clean up San Francisco, and London Breed's administration is going to struggle just like Barack Obama did when he was president. Congress just was against everything that he wanted to do. If Obama had a cure for cancer, Congress was going to step in and try and block it for some dumb reason. That's my analysis of how this all happened under the Obama administration. But then you look at Mark Leno, who, well, he's been around a long time. He's saying he may not be through. After the scam that was known as the Kim Leno Kim ranked choice voting ploy, it was designed by their two camps to keep London Breed from becoming mayor. But let me tell you something about Mark Leno. And I say this as a homosexual. If Mark Leno was not a homosexual, he would not have even been an elected dog catcher. This particular white man, his only asset to San Francisco was his sexuality. Now, I myself find that rather strange. people were voting for him simply because he was gay and they're gay, and so they called him the first LGBT uh, mayor. You know, they were hoping that he would be. Well, I don't understand that term at all. If he's the first LGBT, well, that means he's a lesbian, bisexual, and transsexual also. But anyway, that's another story. But how in the world do all of these San Francisco top politicians then turn around and send glorious thank yous and words of support to our new mayor, London Breed? I find that reprehensible. It's insulting, and I understand they had to do it, but I'm still ticked off by it because you're not fooling me. And though you will be around, and God bless you for the fact that you served this city, you know, for many, many years, I think that the shenanigans that tried to prevent London Breed from becoming mayor was less than 2,000 votes away from causing a San Francisco riot. And I say that because if you'll recall, in the January supervisors meeting, the sheriff had to be called in, you know, to restore order as they saw what was going on. And then later on in a, I don't know, I think it was May event hosted by one of the candidates, Jane Kim, where she was not allowed to speak because somebody crashed the campaign event that she was invited to in Fillmore. Whether it was technically London Breed's district, supervisory district or not, all right, I don't know. But it was still in the Fillmore where London Breed was from. And I thought, my goodness, how are you going to really get people to come and hear what you have to say when everybody knew the shenanigans which you were up to, and then you boldly go on the turf of one of the candidates and you think that you're going to have a campaign speech? Well, that was shut down. And though I heard or read that there was even grapes thrown at Jane Kim at this event, well, that's not right. But the fact of the matter is if Mark Leno had been elected mayor of San Francisco, I don't think the black community would have stayed silent. And I predicted that if Jane Kim was elected mayor, then I thought that there was going to be a riot. And I just don't think that I was off. But then, let me interject, if I will, if I may, excuse me, my own ballot measure's defeat. Now, I have to say that my ballot measure got 96,000 votes. And you have to think, well, if you got 96,000 votes, well, people were pretty interested. But I have something to mention on these 97,000 votes. because there's some shenanigans that took place that I think was ridiculous. Nancy Pelosi was one of 30 top San Francisco um, Democrats who voted no against my Proposition I. Sorry for the small photo, but Dianne Feinstein is an institution. But she too voted no against my ballot measure, Proposition I. Stick with me. This is David Campos. He was the former supervisor in San Francisco and now heads the San Francisco Democratic County Central Committee. And he reported that the general sense that people had was that they didn't understand what the point of Proposition I was. He then went on to say in a Bay Area Reporter article, I think in May, if you go to the ballot, there needs to be a point to try and accomplish. Well, okay. This, sorry, it's not going to be fully on the screen here. This is what these people, 30 top San Francisco Democrats, voted against. Relocation of professional sports teams. Now, I'm going to read the last sentence. And you'll have to bear with me because this is the wording from the city attorney's office, which I even argued the last sentence doesn't make sense as it reads. But by law, I could not allow them to alter it unless I went to court. Didn't have the money, or I would have. But the last sentence I will translate after I read it. This measure would also adopt a policy that against any sports team ownership group that attempts to avoid payment of an outstanding public debt. Well, that don't make any sense. I didn't write that. This was the summary by the city attorney's office. It should have read, this measure would also adopt a policy that San Franciscans stand against any sports team ownership group that attempts to avoid payment of an outstanding public debt. There's a big difference. And so for all of the voters to read that sentence, the first way I read it, the way the city attorney's office crafted this, it didn't make any sense. And thank God 96,000 people did get it and voted accordingly. But the point is, these 3 people, and might I add, this one, that one, this one, that one, this one, that one, all voted against demanding that professional sports teams pay their debt to the public. Now, why did I put that in my ballot measure? Because the Golden State Warriors are attempting to stiff Oakland for $40 million in public debt when they leave Oracle Arena in the 2019-2020 season. Well, people, I'm saying that If San Francisco high politicians all voted to have a we don't care that the Warriors are stiffing the city of Oakland. We want the team. I say uh, that is a very clear indication that San Francisco it has a racism problem, and if I might uh, say that this racism problem is what we need to defeat if we're going to get City Hall back on track and govern this city accordingly. Because if you notice the blue and yellow, this photo is similar to one that's in this week's congratulatory uh, paper from the Examiner, San Francisco Examiner. It says, congratulations our to our Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors have been in Oakland for 47 years. They are not finished building the arena here in San Francisco. But San Francisco politicians, and with help from the print media, mainly the Examiner and the Chronicle, are declaring them our team. Now, they could have said, congratulations to the Bay Area's Golden State Warriors. No, they said, congratulations to our. Now, if anybody challenged them, they'll probably say, we meant to say, we meant to include Oakland. No, you didn't. Because I know basically what San Francisco higher ups are all about. And I'm saying that based on the fact that San Francisco City Hall conspired to keep London Breed from being mayor, and now are all jumping on the, oh, congratulations, oh, first black woman mayor bandwagon, and then the audacity for all top San Francisco Democrats, and I must include London Breed, all voted against Proposition I. Hey, they did so out of racism and greed and status. They think that the Warriors coming to San Francisco are going to make them a better, us a better city. Now, I wasn't born yesterday, and I'm going to tell you, you can't move the Golden State Warriors 11 miles closer to me to make me a bigger fan. How about appreciating the community that they're in? No. Racist forces are stealing from a black community in Oakland, and they tried to steal an election away from a black woman. You think that this is going to all be smoothed out? No. They're going to try their best to do certain things to keep London Breed from being successful in her first year, because we have another election in 2019 coming up. So you've been warned. If you don't get rid of that dome, that invisible dome, we're in trouble.